The modeling world has never been known for its inclusivity, whether that be for the sizes of the garments it promotes or the skin color and body types of the models it uses to sell them. But in response to criticism over this fact, it seems the field has been making an effort to change its ways. Victoria's Secret added plus-size models to its shows, Tyra Banks has been effectively canceled, and now a trans woman has been named this year's Model of the Year. So, can the social justice warriors pack up shop, call it a day, and move on to their next front? Not so fast. First, I'm Hannah Cox with Based Politics. Welcome to my channel where I bring you my politically homeless takes on politics and culture. Before we dive in today, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and of course, ring that notification bell so you never miss one of my episodes. So Alex Consani was named Model of the Year at the British Fashion Council's 2024 Fashion Awards, which took place at the Royal Albert Hall in London this week. In her acceptance speech, she said, "I'm the first trans woman to win this award, but I can't accept this award without thanking those who came before me, specifically the Black trans women who really fought for the space I'm in today, and countless more who fought for the space that allowed me to flourish today." Twitter was filled with comments like this: "Oh my God, amazing. She's extraordinary. Kudos, girl. Mother." I saw people referring to her over and over and over again. Mother. She makes me want to say mother. I can't help but say mother. I'm too old for this. I don't understand the mother thing. I think it's super weird, but okay. Others, aw, my love, like people were fangirling for sure. And by all accounts, it does look like she has done the damn thing. Like, she's gorgeous. If she was on Tyra Banks' top model show, she would definitely place. She's got the look. She's rail thin. She looks like she's eating wet cotton balls for lunch. She's got fabulous hair. I mean, she's got it all. She's a great poser. Like, this is glam, you know? And I think it's important to remind people, like, being a model is not really about being pretty so much as it is about having like the right build and sort of a plain face and being able to be made to look a lot of different ways. The clothing outlets, the designers, they want people that they can imprint on, that they can make into their own, okay? And I think that's important to remember when we talk about models. I'm not trying to diss women who are models at all, but I will just say in college, I dated a male model, which very different standards. You really have to be hot to be a male model. And he was, and he got signed to Ford in New York City. And I was like petrified. I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to be around all these like beautiful models and he's going to cheat on me. And he was like, "Hannah, I'm not going to cheat on you. And models are not beautiful." And I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." But then I went to visit him and I went on some go-sees, which is what you call when you're a model and you go to be seen. Anyways, I went on some go-sees with him. And sure enough, the models were not beautiful. They looked like starving pale giraffes. So yeah, whether or not you find her stunningly beautiful or not, she looks like exactly what the industry has always liked. So this is a win-win for them, right? They can go back to prioritizing white, rail-thin, blonde women who are built like teenage boys while still getting to claim diversity and inclusion. Like, what an unbelievable turn of fate for this industry, right? As they're being forced to be inclusive, to include plus size models, to start looking for people of color that they can prop up in their industry, they get this saving grace of trans women where they can go back to the only thing they've ever wanted to elevate as a standard of beauty and still get to claim that they are progressive. Phenomenal. Now, as you can probably pick up, I have a bone to pick here, and I am by no means alone. But before I pick that bone, let me explain and unequivocally say that I support trans people. You will never hear trans bashing on this channel. If that's what you're here for, get out. I will defend trans people from bigotry and hate. I have trans people in my life whom I love. I have always stood for trans people's rights to live their lives as they choose, free from condemnation. And I think the obsession with trans people in our society has gotten so weird. It's been overly politicized. It's been blown out of proportion. And that has been done by both sides, okay? The left and the right. They just keep feeding into each other on this front. The left does something to try to move the line. The right then overreacts to it. There's blowback. But the end result is that trans people are ultimately less accepted, less safe, and have more hatred directed at them than ever. Before the left began this whole stupid campaign around 2014, 2015, when their funding for gay marriage was about to dry up because they won that battle and therefore they turned their attention to this issue because they needed a reason to continue to exist and fundraise, trans people were at a peak of acceptance in this country. Nobody cared. Nobody cared at all. So the people that run around claiming to be allies to trans people on the left, no, you're not. You're not. You actually just want to virtue signal. You want to be pretentious. You want to feel like you're a better person than others. And most importantly, the activists and politicians want to continue padding their pockets with this issue. But if you actually cared about trans people and wanted to see them accepted into society and wanted to ensure that there was not hatred directed at them, you would cut the crap on fronts like this. People have been telling you they are so sick of this being shoved down their throats. They are so sick of women being erased in society, and you refuse to listen. You just keep telling people that they're bigots, that they hate trans people, that they don't want trans people to exist, which is largely not the case for the vast majority of people. Sure, there are bigots out there, and I will side with you in calling them out. But when you label everybody as a bigot for any issue that they have under this whole discussion, then you minimize the ability to actually correctly identify people who really are bigoted and deal with them. Again, you're not an ally. Like, you are a whole problem. And as you know, if you've been existing in the culture for the past 10 years, this is just the latest example of an industry or an award system pulling this crap. As the other side of the internet, the side that isn't screaming mother, has pointed out, Kansani was picked for this spot over another model that most feel was more deserving of the title. A Black woman named Anok Yai. Guys, I hope I said that right. I tried my best to find a pronunciation guide. I couldn't, so if you know better than me, please tell me. But a Black model named Anok Yai, who apparently has been rising through the ranks for some time. I don't follow modeling all that closely, but it seems she's huge, and people feel that she has been denied this award over and over and over, and her picture started trending in response to the announcement about this award being given out this week. And when I saw people posting her picture, I'm not going to lie, it actually took my breath away. Like, look at this. Is she fully human? Like, I swear she's glowing. She's ethereal. Like, I can't look away from her. And the internet had a lot to say about this woman being snubbed, which again, like, just look at her. I get it. Someone said Anok Yai, never winning model of the year, is an accurate depiction of the current state of fashion. Another person said, if an actual white woman had won over Anok Yai, people would be calling the judges racist, but because a white man pretending to be a woman won, it's crickets. Again, I don't abide by that language. I think trans women are real, but the point stands. Brittany Venti said, so if you spend a Cadillac's worth of money on your face and body at a young age to be the opposite gender, you can be model of the year. Great message to send, by the way. That's a mic drop. And what I think is so interesting about this is how, like, the line keeps moving for the left, right? Like, a couple decades ago, they were on the front lines of women's rights, but now women are completely disregarded, right? Like, white women aren't good enough and it has to be women of color. And now being a woman of color is not good enough. You have to be a queer woman of color, right? The line just keeps moving, and not that it just keeps moving about where their priorities go, but at the expense of the populations they claim to have formerly fought for. So here you have a Black woman who is a natural woman. I can't find any evidence that she's ever had any cosmetic surgery whatsoever, who is very clearly not only at the pinnacle of her modeling game, but at the pinnacle of beauty, being completely overlooked and surpassed in favor of a person who has had immense surgery in order to look how she now looks, and who is also not a natural born woman, replacing women in a field that's supposed to be about their work. It's exhausting. And look, while it has often been remarked upon that trans women have an advantage in sports, and I don't care how much the left scoffs at that, like, yes, they obviously do. They also have an advantage when it comes to modeling, by the way. Like, look at this photo, okay? In order for a woman to look like this, they would have to have an ED. They would have to be literally starving themselves. But because men have longer bones and greater muscle mass to make them look tall and slender compared to women, they can achieve this glamorous, rail thin look much more expediently and easily than the vast majority of women who are models can do. And she's probably still getting to eat hamburgers once in a while. Men can also just like go for a run and drop 10 pounds. I've seen my husband and brothers do it. And I've always said, like, that's the patriarchy. I mean, that is wildly unfair. So when you think about those biological advantages and then you add that to the surgical advances trans women have when it comes to modeling, it really is something where you could see women displaced in this field quite expediently. And not only is that not fair to women, it's not healthy to promote for women. If we thought the standards were unobtainable and led to EDs before, like, can you imagine women having to compete against these trans women in this sector? Can you think about what it says to little girls who have always looked at models as being the ideal body type that they strive for and now having to compete with this? It's just utterly ridiculous. I'm sorry, but this is not a yes girl moment for me. And no hate to Kansani, but women have had to fight for centuries to overturn historic oppression against them. They've had to overcome true violence against them. We continue to live in a society where we are picked apart for every tiny flaw we might be in possession of and marketed 100 different products a day to fix them. We continue to deal with misogyny, with societal rules that are stacked against us, and in many places globally, true human rights violations. And as a whole, women have fought back and won. We have carved out spaces for ourselves. We have worked hard. We have competed fairly. And in the end, we've often come out ahead. But now that is being usurped by trans women in far too many spaces. And it's just not right. It's not progressive. It's not a win. The left might be over women's fight, but I'm not. There is still work to do when it comes to women's rights in society. And furthermore, it's absolutely bonkers to think that women should just hand over the gains that they've made and the spaces they have carved out for themselves to less than 1% of the population. And that doesn't make me a TERF to say so. I care about trans people. I care about trans rights. But this is only happening in women's spaces, right? This isn't actually happening in male spaces. We don't see trans men coming in and trying to overtake male spaces. This is a problem. And women are just not going to keep rolling over. In fact, Anok Yai had something to say about this herself on her Twitter. She said, "Alex, I love you and I'm so proud of you. British Fashion Council, thank you, but I don't want it anymore." And then she followed that up with another tweet that said, "If you have seen the effort that I've seen Alex put in, you would understand how proud I am of her. But Alex can be proud and I can be exhausted at the same time. It doesn't take away how much love we have for each other," which I think is a perfect tweet, right? She was getting all kinds of hate for this and like it was ridiculous, right? Calling her a bigot, anti-trans, sore loser, but she's not. She's saying, I love her. I respect the work she's put in, but like, this is ridiculous. This is unfair. This is rigged. And it's just so interesting when you think about what Black women in particular have had to overcome in the modeling industry to recognize how much harder she's had to work to get to the top as a Black woman. And now that's being completely disregarded because she is no longer the favored, oppressed class. People are sick of it. They're absolutely tired of it. I'm all for trans men and trans women carving out their own spaces, just as women have. I will work alongside them to do so and support their efforts. But when they and their left-wing champions continue to prioritize displacing women from our own spaces, you lose even people like me who are very pro-trans rights. And the end result will not be a win for the trans community. All right, guys, I hope you liked this episode. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and if you want even more content, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok.